Welcome to another Marketer's Edge interview. My name is Mark Snyder, and I'm founder and CEO of RSW Agency Search. We're a no cost way for marketers like you to find best in class agencies of any type or size. You can learn more about us at rswas.com. Today, we're talking with Amitai Sasson, the VP eCommerce for overstockart.com. Amitai, thank you so much for joining us today. How have you been?
I've been good. Thanks, Mark. It's great to be here. Super excited.
Excellent. Yeah, really happy to have you here. Had a real nice conversation with you when we first met and was looking forward to today's interview. So,
Mhm.
I've got a small handful of questions for you, but before we do that, can you tell me a little bit about overstockart.com, what you do for the company? I'd like our audience to know what kind of company it is and
Mhm.
what you do for them.
Sure. So, overstockart.com is a company that me and my brother started way back in 2001. I was actually still in college at the time. And what we do is we sell art. We sell hand painted reproductions of famous masters. That's our flagship product. And we're a pure play online retailer, meaning we're exclusively online through either our website, overstockart.com, or through partner retail sites. So we partner with many retailers such as Macy's, Kohl's, Nordstrom, Lowe's, Home Depot, and many others, where when you buy from them, uh, we actually send it to you. You're getting the art from us. So we're on all of those .coms as well. But all of the operation is done in Wichita, Kansas. That's where our offices are, and also our production line. Since we're not only involved in art, we're also involved in framing. That's one of our differentiators. We have a complete frame shop with saws and underpinners where we chop and join frames and stretch canvases and just create custom framed, hand painted oil painting masterpiece ready to hang on your wall. And we've been doing this for a long time, over 20 years.
Cool. I'm curious. Can you tell me how and why you and your brothers started the company? What was the inspiration behind it?
Yeah, so I was out in California. I was about to go to Loyola Marymount University. I played volleyball, and I was recruited by them to go to start my collegiate career, and they ended up closing the program, and so I ended up in Los Angeles. And my friend at the time told me, I've heard about this product, and so I got introduced to hand painted reproductions, and it was interesting. I told to my brother, who at the time, David, he was selling art. He was selling used computers online. Which was and he was one of the websites that he was utilizing was called ubid.com, which at the time was one of those kind of like an early eBay website. And so we
Got
decided
it.
to get a couple of pieces and try it out, and we just saw the numbers, go up and up in the auction. It was exciting, and we thought, okay, let's give it a shot. And we bought, an initial investment of an initial batch, and we started up with just a handful of oil paintings from David and his wife Stacy. She was doing all the work, um, and we opened a website, and that's how it started. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I always love stories like that, from folks that have started their own business. And so your model, the fact that these are reproductions of famous artists' work. Can you talk a little bit about how you manage inventory for the product you sell? You operate in a pretty unique space, selling a unique product. So I'm sure there's something to be learned from how you manage things as it relates to inventory and just overall processes.
Yeah. So we all hold inventory. So everything that you see on overstockart.com is in stock. So we hold our own stock in Wichita, and because we hold our own stock, there's a lot of financial pressure and a lot of cash sitting there in inventory. Our competitors do not hold stock. They are basically doing what's called the made to order style purchase, whereas upon order they're gonna tell the studios to create the painting. It could take 60, 90 days. It's not a very it's hard to be a good process for the American consumer this way, that's used to having the art,
Hmm.
that's used to having at their doorstep after 3 days. Um,
Sure.
Also, since this is a very seasonal product, meaning holidays is really, really big for us, we wanted to extend the holiday season as much as possible. And for that, we really need to hold stock. And in order to do that, we have to keep our inventory. We know it's a high variety type of industry, so we have a lot of different
Sure.
titles that's needed. But we wanted to keep our availability high in all of these titles, and at the same time keep our inventory low, cash low in inventory. So how do you play that game?
Hmm.
And so I don't know if you've heard of the theory of constraints before. We're big TOC guys here, and we wanted to use the theory of constraint to our advantage, and we basically try to keep our inventory. So in order to do that, we work in smart and small batches of orders, and we keep
Okay.
a tight shift on each and every SKU has its own demand model, and we built a
Okay.
software around that to help us manage this. We have 10,000 titles. How do you? It's impossible to manage 10,000 titles and to
Yeah.
forecast demand for 10,000 titles if things aren't automated. And so we developed this software, somewhat based on Bayes' theorem algorithm, where we don't have a lot of, every transaction that happens adjusts the algorithm's ability to forecast and adjust
Okay.
what's the expected inventory. Yeah.
Is that communicator base? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, exactly. It's the
Okay.
communicator.
Because I was going to ask. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because you guys started that. Now it is a separate company, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we figured as much. Since we're a retailer, we're guessing, and we've heard a lot. We've been around. We hear like, and we ask retailers, how do you manage your inventory and or your supply chain, more like.
Hmm.
And so they have a buyer, and it's a lot of emails back and forth with their suppliers, and so still that's what people do. And so we figured, okay, maybe there's a business here. And so we spun
Okay.
off our supply chain system that we've developed into what's called the communicator base, which is a software as a service supply chain system that it starts
Okay.
where your ERP ends, kind of deal. It's a communication tool first and foremost with your vendors, and at the same time a demand planning tool to help you create orders on the fly, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you are, to what extent are you involved in the sale of that offering, or is that sort of a completely separate entity within overstockart.com?
Yeah, it's a completely separate entity. I developed it, so my
Okay.
background is I wear the technology hat. As the VP of e-commerce, I'm in charge of everything that has to do with
Got it.
the customer facing side as well as the back end side of the company. And so I started the communicator base, and now that's what we do, and we're also marketing it, and also mostly, there's not a lot of marketing in this. There's a lot of word of mouth, and a lot of, because people
Sure.
are, there's a lot of buzz around this, especially these days where everybody's focused on profitability. That's one of the first places they look at, is at their inventory. They're looking there in the back, and they're
Mhm.
seeing like hundreds of
Hmm.
thousands of dollars sitting there that could be,
Sure. Sure.
um, it could be the difference between a profitable and not profitable company.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned earlier the partnerships that you've established. I believe you told me when we first met that the productivity of some of those relationships isn't as solid today as they were maybe pre-pandemic. Can you
Mhm.
talk a little bit about the partnerships and share with us if indeed they're not as rock well as they're if they're not as productive today as they were back in the day, talk a little bit about why you think that's the case.
Yeah. So when you partner with a big retailer, it's almost like the Coca-Cola and the shelf space in the supermarket. At the end of the day, you want to control the shelf space, and when you're working with a big retailer, that's not something that you're going to have, and you're at the mercy of the merchandiser at the big box retailer. So it's because it's out of your control. There could be some retailers that are you're gonna have a phenomenal time, and then all of a sudden it can just tank. And you really need a lot of these connections and things like that to keep nurturing those connections, to keep your product front and center in front of their customer.
Got it.
Our kind of a little bit about our strategy is, in order to drive, sales for overstock art, we try to make there's in order to drive traffic also to overstock art. We have connections with partner retailers. We
Got
in that side we control the box. We're able to when we make a sale, we make sure that there's a certificate of authenticity. There's a big plastered name of overstockart.com on the box itself. So we're trying to get users back and shop directly with us if they're,
got it.
and so that's one of our strategies as well to do that. The
Okay.
Yeah, and partner retail is, it's like a different it's a different business.
Sure.
And we've went through a lot of different, like I think what you're talking about before the pandemic, we had what's called the flash sites, those event sites that used to be the Guilt and Rue La La and One Kings Lane and Hay Needle,
Okay.
and there were a bunch of these. There were a bunch of these retailers that were event sites that did like daily kind of deals
Got it.
on curated selection, and on those we
Yeah.
did really well. And those in general, that entire category has basically faded away in
Yeah.
the previous decade. So you
Okay.
just need to to shift. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious, how do you determine what paintings you're going to offer on a given partner's site,
Hmm.
or is all of the inventory available to every partner?
Yeah. Well, there are different sites where different art's going to be um, more in tune with their audience, and we try
Yeah.
to do
Right.
that with their buyer. And again, we're trying to
Okay.
also, in general, we curate that selection, but a lot of times it's going to
Yeah.
surprise you. Like for instance, in Wayfair, we're seeing that our we recently we went into mirrors, so we've diverged a bit into other wall decor categories such as mirrors,
Okay.
ornaments, tiles, and things like that. So, for instance, mirrors are doing really well on Wayfair, and on Overstock, we're selling more of the ornaments, and Overstock.com, that is, or Bed Bath and Beyond. Um, so, I mean, these things, and there's other retailer where our artists become, which is our contemporary artist group
Hmm.
that we've cultivated. They do very well on other websites. So and we see those patterns, and we try to adjust the what we're offering to their merchandising team, and we try to do that consistently. Also, continue to add new SKUs and things like that, keeping it fresh.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you, just in your world, and you sort of confirmed it, that you aren't just competing against other art centric sites. You're really competing against anything in the home decor space. And if that is indeed true, kind of how does that influence how you market and communicate with potential customers?
Um, yeah, it's if I would start. today, it's a completely different animal of how we started, back in the day.
I
We're
bet.
Yeah, I mean, we've been able, because of the longevity, we've been able to cultivate about 500,000 customers that we have, and that's our
That's great.
B2C customers. And so for us, we're trying to, we 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 try to keep ourselves profitable. We're not the type of company that holds some sort of blue sky tech company that can endure being in the red.
Hmm.
So for us, we look at marketing when the marketing is efficient, when we determine a certain CAC that we can go after, and we see that this is performing, then we're going to keep on going, and we're going to keep pushing in that direction. There are times that you need to hold the jacket a little closer, and just make sure and rely more on your built community, and a lot of driving traffic and sales from other, not the regular ads that you see around the web, but more, just getting more aggressive, I'd call it, in different areas that are more of a direct marketing approach. And for us, it's always been the retailer's curse. Today you're doing well, but you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. And so,
Yeah.
and that's our mentality, and that's how we've done it for the last.
Yeah. So how do you market the brand and drive awareness and leads into overstockart.com site?
Yeah. So there's the two main ways that we're driving traffic. I mean, cold traffic is with
Hmm.
search engine optimization. So a lot of
Okay.
search queries, people are searching for Van Gogh, Monet, Klimt, Renoir, all those, and that's where we try to get a lot of
Okay.
our top of funnel
Hmm.
traffic. In addition, we're through the partner retailers, we're getting a lot of traffic as well. That's just coming direct, and that's very, very highly strong, um, sort of traffic that we're driving that.
Got
Those are the top two ways. Then our, after, we like to call it a mini conversion. When we get their permission, we get their email, then we can start to market. And we have a lot of triggered paths, a lot of these life cycle paths of email, in addition to newsletters that we do frequently. And so we keep us as top of mind for our customers in our email program, and also SMS program, and also some direct mail as well.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
Okay, that's great. So I know you mentioned Loyola Marymount and that program shuttered. I did notice on LinkedIn that you were recruited by Ball State University out of Indiana to play for the men's volleyball
yeah,
team. I'm curious, what was it like, a kid coming from Israel and to the heartland of the U.S. To go to school? What was that experience like for you?
yeah. No, yeah, that's interesting. You brought it up. Yeah, I played a Ball State. That's what we went to the Final Four back in 2003.
That's
Um,
great.
yeah, I came from Israel. We played, where the club was the heart in my community. That's what we played volleyball. I grew up in a kibbutz in Israel, and our kibbutz we played volleyball, and it was so for me. I remember the first game we had at home at Ball State, and we were playing Long Beach, and we were just not playing very well. And I remember the coach took a timeout. And I see all the crowd, everybody's happy. They're throwing balls and getting T-shirts, and everybody's like, "What are they happy about? We're losing here." And then a teammate turns around to me, this is entertainment. Do you think they're coming to watch volleyball? They're coming for entertainment. And I think that is a big difference between European international volleyball and sports in the United States, as far as train of thought and how they look at sports. And I think in general, um, I don't know what kind of person I would be without athletics and without being an athlete, but because it gives me a lot of um, the way to keep your poise,
Yeah.
especially in a sport like volleyball, where it's a very technical sport and it's a laid back sport as far as the mentality, um, and it helped me, as in the environment of business environment. I believe that the if you compare a company to an organization, a sports organization, there's a lot of similarity of the common good and the will to win, and everything's very, very clean and clear.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
think that sort of analogy between your business and in a sports team, I think that goes a long way. A lot of time people compare it to a family. I don't think it should be compared to a family because your company isn't your family. It's about execution. It's about creating something bigger than the whole of the team, and I think that's more aligned, and that's how we see it as well in our company.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I was going to ask you, if you learned anything from that experience that influenced how you manage or market your business today, and it sounds like it definitely has. Anything else that you think you can sort of point to that has affected how you operate as a leader of two organizations?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's all about poise, and it's all about, again, one of the things that I always, when I used to play, you would see videos, to get ready to the
Mhm.
next match,
Yep.
and a lot of times, coaches would show you what your opposition is doing. In e-commerce, our competitor is a click away, and it's very easy to go ahead and look at what they're doing. But I think, and also from an athletic point of view, I would always rather see myself and what I'm doing and how I'm learning what I'm doing on the court and analyzing that and improving on myself instead of looking at my competition and try to see, okay, and going, and sometimes it gets into your head and then you come to the match and you try to do things and you're overdoing it and you're giving them too much credit instead of focusing on what you do. So I
Yeah.
always say, look at, we don't need to do what they're doing. It's okay if it works for them, but this is our path. This is what we're doing. We
Yeah.
need to stay on
Yeah,
that course.
yeah, that's great advice. I know big believer in when like you said, when you start worrying about what the other person's doing, it becomes a distraction, and you can't do the best possible job you can. So, I think great parallel, with the time you spent at Ball State, relative to what you're doing now. So I've just got two last questions for you. Any advice that you'd give to a marketer, e-commerce, non-e-commerce, regardless of the category, thinking about bringing a new agency on board? Any advice you'd give them?
Well, I see an agency as a partner, and I think first of all, you need to have like a really, like, give them the opportunity to be really a part of your organization, because when the time's rough, you're going to need them on your side. You're going to need, that's when the agency is measured, I think. Because when everything's working well and you see, the performance and the ROAS is great and everything's fine, but then things aren't working so well. And so, what happens in that point of view? Are they going to do the extra mile for you? Are they going to do so? It's really important, that personal connection and making sure we have. We work with an agency. We have been working with them for um, over 15 years, um,
No,
and
wow, wow,
we're
that's great.
and we've and we see them really as an extension of our business. And I think that in general, any third party that you're bringing in, especially agency, that just a lot of dollars are being invested in that area, you need to make sure they're almost like, a part of the team.
Right, right. And so my last question is, if an agency was trying to knock down your door and attempting to win business from you, what advice would you give that agency?
Well, I would first of all, I would learn the business, because a lot of times you get, you hear from agencies, and they're like, we want to, talk with you and things like that, and then you're like, okay, let's talk, and then it's like, well, learn, do your homework before you're
Yeah,
coming, and really give me added value from the gate. You know, tell me, hey, we're seeing your site. By the way, you should do this. You should do that.
yeah.
Why aren't you here? Why aren't you that? I mean, show me that you're going to have, your that added value, and that you're bringing in a lot of IQ to the table, because anybody
Mhm.
can, especially this day and age with the automation of a lot of the, the PMAX and the different tools. Not that I'm encouraging that, but you can run your own ads, Google ads, and even Facebook ads. But I wouldn't recommend it. I would definitely recommend bringing in an agency to do that.
Mhm.
It's I mean, when it scales up, for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and uh, and yeah, but you need to bring something that's showing me that you're out of the box thinker. The creative, and whatever you bring to the table. It's just something that is important, that you show that you have expertise. You've been in different situations, and you'll be able to manage and grow the business, and have a plan, and have some sort of a game plan to execute with my brand, specifically with my brand.
Hmm. Hmm. That's great. That's great. Well, this has been awesome. So multi-dimensional in terms of just this conversation. Talking about so many different parts of your business, your personal experiences, and you guys obviously landed on something that was very unique, and you found a market where there was definitely a need, and applaud you for that, and the longevity that you guys have been able to manage. But Amitai, it's been a real pleasure getting to know you, and I appreciate you making the time today. And wish you guys nothing but the best going forward.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure, to sit back sometimes and talk about the things that you've accomplished. You tend to forget that in the day to day, so it's good to kind of talk about it a little bit, and then it's always good to remember what you've done and where the opportunities lay
Right.
ahead. And thank you so much, Mark, for
Yep.
this time and
All
for the
right.
conversation.
Yep. Thank you. Take care.